All right, so over the weekend, we saw Bitcoin, which is the one asset that doesn't stop trading, just continue to move higher. In fact, if you were looking at the markets on Friday, we were seeing a surge of Bitcoin up into, I think we were close to like 117 as we hit the highs on Friday. All right. Saturday, we push even a little bit higher. Last night was real interesting because we cracked 120. Then we crack 121, and then about 3 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time, we crack 122 to get a new all-time high, which was just above 122.5. So why is all this happening? Why all of a sudden is Bitcoin the one to be looking at? That was the first thing you saw. If you woke up, you tuned into mainstream media. That was exactly what you were seeing happening as Bitcoin was making new all-time highs. Everywhere I was changing, from CNBC to Bloomberg, it was all about Bitcoin. All right, so to me, if I were to take all the news we've looked at in the last week and really kind of spotlight it and also put the big things on a chart, that's what I want to show you here for this particular piece. Really, this is the news that's really pushing Bitcoin. So the US dollar has dropped 11%. That's one piece. Spot purchases continue to climb. That's another thing that's pushing Bitcoin. Bitcoin flips Amazon. That was another big news piece. Is the acceleration phase starting? I believe it is. And I want to talk about my base case for 2025 and beyond. All right, so let's start with the US dollar. US dollar drops 11% year to date. That's probably the worst start to a year. You got to go back over 50 years. I think it's 1973 if you want to see a really bad start to the US dollar. And it's interesting because 1973 just came literally less than 2 years after we went off the gold standard. And so that's an interesting piece that starts. Also, if you look, we were starting to go into a recession at that time. Now, why, fast forwarding over 50 years from then to now, why the decline? Why a double-digit decline in the dollar? Well, a couple of reasons, but spending is the biggest thing, right? We are seeing trillions added to the debt level with no end in sight. The current administration came in at the beginning of the year saying they were going to cut spending really hard. And they have. They've cut spending. But when the big, beautiful bill got introduced and passed, all of a sudden, we're now seeing debt levels. I saw debt levels last week just jump $400 billion in 2 days. But we're seeing another $5 trillion that could be added to the deficit. So Trump has gone from a slash and burn president to now we want to grow our way out of it. And that is exactly what assets were wanting to hear. You want to know why the stock market's at a new all-time high? You want to know why Bitcoin jumped up over double digits just in the last week? That is the reason. Take a look at spot purchases. This is the next thing we want to talk about. So last week, Rivers ETF purchased 10,000 Bitcoin. I believe it was on Thursday. And so if you take that and you look at all of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, and these are the top 10 right here, you're going to see what their holdings are right now. BlackRock holds over 700,000 BTC. Grayscale is a distant. It's like BlackRock's number one. Everybody else is pushing for second place. Grayscale, that was GBTC and the Mini. Between the two of them, they're holding almost 230,000 Bitcoin. Then you've got Fidelity in third with just over 200,000, 207,000 to be exact. ARC21 comes in at number 4 with 51,000, Bitwise at 40,000. And then you see the next 5, VanEck, CoinShares, Invesco, Franklin Templeton, Wisdom Tree, round out the top 10. Take a look at the U.S. ETF holdings together. We're now at 1.268 million BTC. Keep in mind, there are only 21 million Bitcoin to ever be mined and in circulation. Right now we have, I believe it's just over 19 million in circulation. So there's only 2 million, less than 2 million left, right? We're close to 20 million. So what you're looking at here, folks, is you're looking at about 95% of all the Bitcoin that's ever going to be mined already in circulation. Only 5% left to be mined, and that's supposed to happen over the next 100 plus years. So not a lot is going to be coming out. We are now well into the halving that happened last year, April 2024. So we're now over a year into the halving. We still have a little less than 3 years before the next halving is going to happen, and that will knock the rewards down to a little over 1.5 Bitcoin that gets mined when a block is found. So it's getting less and less. So this is the next thing, is you've got purchases, and purchases are ramping up now at around, it's over 9,000 Bitcoin a week that are being purchased right now for inflows. That might change if the narrative changes, but there's some other things you got to think about as to why this may not be a fluke, and it may not be FOMO, because you might think fear of missing out. That could be one thing. But why, when you look at the retail public, are they still not interested? Do they believe it's just too expensive? Right? When I ask even family members, first of all, you ask how many people have Bitcoin, and you see right now that in the world, only 4% of the world has some form of Bitcoin, a fractional or more. That means 96% of the world still doesn't use Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to use Bitcoin. You take a look at cell phone usage. 70% of the world now has a cell phone, right? Over 70% of the world uses internet access. That's adoption. So if 4% right now have Bitcoin, I don't believe Bitcoin's going to get to 70%. But what if it gets to 25%? That's still a huge number from where we are right now, right? So that's demand. Take a look at the chart just in the last 100 days. You'll see what's happened. Over on the far left-hand side, right, you're going to see in red the tariff delays that happened just around April, just after April 8th, right? As we moved into mid-May, the China deal supposedly happened. That pushes Bitcoin back above 100,000. Remember the tariff delays? They went below 75. And our members, some of you are here, had the opportunity to purchase BTC. We recommended it at 75,000. We went down to 74 and change. That might be the best bottom tick we're going to get this year in terms of limit orders, but we got it. And actually, talking to a friend of mine earlier today, he picked it up at 75,000. He's very happy right now. So we got that tariff delays, the China deal, then the Iran strike. So that pushes us to the end of June, where Bitcoin had pulled back below 100,000. 100,000 became where resistance became support. We hit that 98 level and jumped right back above it. And then lo and behold, at the beginning of July, the big, beautiful bill, July 4th, big, beautiful bill passes. And then, of course, coming out of last week, we jump above 110, and then it's just been Katie bar to door as we hit 122 and change early this morning, all right, Monday, July 14th. So that brings me to what's my base case. So the sum all, and that's the biggest thing. You know, it's one thing to look at why I believe Bitcoin still has room to grow, but my base case for the rest is intact. My base case was 138 to 150. There is still room for this to run, and I believe that 138, that obviously that's the first one that's going to hit. I believe that's actually going to hit by the time we get before fall, before the end of summer. I see 138. We could hit 150 by the end of the year. I think that's very doable. Where do we go from there? Well, let's talk about why. Well, one of the reasons is the Trump pattern, which is called the taco pattern. Now, some of you hear the word taco, you might get a little emotional about it, depending on where you stand, whether you're on the right or the left. I don't care about that. But the pattern stands for Trump always chickens out. Okay. Now, I want you to put your trader's cap on for a moment. Right? That's a pattern where Trump comes in strong and then he negotiates back. Right? We've come in strong again. We're coming in strong because, again, the tariff is back on. That's front and center for the news. And that's what's pushing the markets lower and has been for the last few days. there is a high probability that when August 1st comes around, that there's going to be some pullback again, or there's going to be some deals made that are going to be a net positive for the market. As far as the longer term pattern, has that pattern changed? I'm going to talk about all my details. I'm going to talk about that pattern. I'm going to talk about Ethereum, my levels on Ethereum, my buy-ins on Bitcoin, my buy-ins on Ethereum, crypto stocks, crypto options. We're going to talk all about that on a special presentation that I'm going to be doing Wednesday at 3 p.m. as I start my once a year, it's come around again, once a year crypto mastery program. And if you check the details, all right, check the link. Details are in the link on how you can sign up, okay? It's an easy sign up. My first week I'm doing this is a 1-month program. So week 1, which starts on Wednesday, I'm inviting everybody. Come on in. I've got a ton of stuff to share with you, and you will walk away with, at the very least, my next trades for BTC. All right, so check it out. Links are in the description below. And there we go. That's my Bitcoin case for new all-time highs. Welcome back, Bitcoin. Welcome back to new all-time highs. Congratulations to those of you that hung out and saw that 25% drop and still had the means to stick it out. Where do we go from here? It's anybody's guess, but I believe we're in the start of a continued bull rally.